Douglas Murray is still bothering Joe Rogan. Yes, despite their spat on Rogan's top-rating podcast happening weeks ago, Joe Rogan continues to take digs at the commentator during his episodes. This time it was again in relation to Gaza, where Rogan was sympathising with the plight of the Palestinian civilians and then added that he wouldn't want to go there. This was a dig at Murray's claim that someone can only be an expert about a topic if they have actually been there and experienced it for themselves.
Any reasonable person would look at Gaza and go, this seems kind of excessive. Mm-hmm. This seems kind of fucking crazy.
Right.
It seems kind of crazy that 70,000 people or whatever it is are dead, including women and children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the only way to do it? Really?
Yeah.
Any reasonable person, that doesn't make you anti-Semitic. It doesn't make you anti-Zionist. It doesn't make you anything. It just doesn't make you pro-Hamas. Like, no, it
could be pro-human.
Yeah, human beings.
I don't think humans should be murdered.
Yeah. Just that sounds so reasonable. But the thing is, we never got into that.
Yeah.
Because the conversation, tactically, he entered into the conversation as, because he doesn't have really a defensible position.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to say this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
So what do you say? You say you need better experts. You shouldn't be talking to this person. You should be doing this. You should be doing
weird.
that. Why don't you have this? You've never been there. You should go there. Bitch, I am not going there. What the fuck are you talking about?
You're not even going to Brazil for another UFC fight.
Yeah, exactly. I don't go to Canada.
Rogan's comments sparked a mixed reaction from online commentators, with some applauding his sympathetic view on the chaos in the Middle East and some blasting him. This commentator said, "Joe is making sense here and speaking the truth." But this person wasn't so sure, saying any reasonable person would also ask, why is Hamas still holding hostages? Why did they start this war on October 7 by slaughtering civilians? End the war tomorrow. Hamas just has to surrender and free the captives. And whilst Joe Rogan is sympathetic to Palestinians, Douglas Murray has only grown stronger in his resolve to destroy Hamas.
People thought that the claim that Hamas was ISIS was a rhetorical claim. We know since Saturday, if we didn't know before, it is not rhetoric, it is real. If you stand in Britain with a Hamas flag, you should not be allowed to be free in Britain. You should be arrested, have your citizenship withdrawn, your passport withdrawn. You should be deported, you should be sent to the Gaza and try your luck there. But you should not be given the right to insult and to taunt Jews after the death of Jews. It's intolerable and we should not tolerate it. Let me say one more thing, and it's the main thing I wanted to say to you tonight. That you're not alone. That you're not alone.
The online bickering of Rogan and Murray, as well as other commentators in the West, comes as the war between Israel and Hamas continues to rage. Only days ago, 9 siblings were killed after Israel launched an attack on Gaza.
It's been 2 days now and I can't stop thinking about Dr. Alaa al-Najjar. A pediatrician, a healer, a mother. The military in Israel bombed her home in Gaza. They targeted her home. When she came back from the hospital, she found 7 of her children's bodies charred beyond recognition, buried in the rubble. 2 of them still missing. 9 of her 10 children gone in an instant. The youngest was only 7 months old. The eldest was only 12. Her husband and surviving child are in critical condition.
And closer to home in the US, 2 young Israeli embassy workers were allegedly shot by a pro-Palestine activist who shouted "Free Palestine" during his arrest.
No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
This further escalated tensions between the pro-Palestine camp and the pro-Israel camp, with vigils for the slain young workers being disrupted by activists.
Go fuck yourselves! Zionist piece of shit! Go fuck yourselves! And you guys killed 100 kids, 100 children a day! You guys are committing a genocide that's being displayed
pro-Palestine bias of CNN was also put in the spotlight after the attack, with a guest very rightly putting the CNN host in her place for defending pro-Palestine activists.
But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school, and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not create this horrific shooting. They did not, they didn't shoot.
They gave permission. They gave the permission. And they've called for this. They have called for Intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for Intifada. At Columbia University, they call for Intifada constantly. They're not quietly, they're loud. They're loud. You can hear it. They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
And then the usual unhinged suspects took to social media to completely make a fool of themselves by strangely celebrating the cruel deaths of these two innocent victims.
I do not condemn the elimination of those two Zionist officials who worked at the Israeli embassy last night, and here's why. He spent his days working at the Israeli embassy fighting to maintain Israel's genocide and support for that genocide in this country. He is a war criminal. And the same was true for the woman. This was not because they were Jewish, it was because they were Zionists. And a manifesto from the suspect in custody, Elias Rodriguez, who apparently, if we are to believe this is true, he is part of the movement, and he has consistently posted about Palestine. He targeted these two because of their connection to the state of Israel, because they are Zionists, not because they are Jews. And I want to remind you that while this attack took the lives of two human beings, Israel has murdered thousands of Palestinian civilians in cold blood without any shame. I ask you, what is the difference between Elias Rodriguez and Aaron Bushnell to you? Perhaps the only difference I can see is that Aaron Bushnell's sacrifice in flames, protesting his government's role in a genocide he could no longer bear to be a part of, is more palatable to this world, because he did not throw the final stone in his last moments at the mob of criminals whose suffering they've brought to this world is more than this world can bear any longer.
Nice perm, kid. Hey, make of that what you will, but it feels to me like we are going back into the same cycle of history we saw in the 1960s, when the left glorified cretinous murderers from Che Guevara to Charles Manson in the name of revolution. Now they're doing it again, celebrating Hamas and calling for their style of nihilistic violence to be reenacted in the West again.